Hello, my name is Natsuko Ito, and I'm reporting on Investigation 4. So my site location was at 3395 Shanley Street in Fairbanks, Alaska, and the dates of observation were January 26th to January 30th. The approximate local time of observation was 1300 and 1400 Alaska Standard Time. The NWS data location was the Fairbanks International Airport. By looking at the graph, you can see that the NWS data generally followed the same trend as the data I took last week. There were some differences. So looking at the current readings, starting from the 26th, my first observation was taking at 1405, and the current observed temperature was negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit, and the NWS data says it was negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature on the left probe was negative 28.48 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum temperature was negative 35.68 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature of the right probe was negative 27.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum temperature was negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit. The Beaufort number for the day was 1, with the wind coming from 310 degrees west of north. The sky was very clear, there were no clouds in the sky, and there was also no precipitation. On the 27th, I took my reading at 1318. The current observed temperature was negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit on the left probe and negative 36 degrees Fahrenheit on the right probe. And the NWS data read it was negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature for the left probe was negative 33.52 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L, which means that the weather dropped below negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The thermometer is only able to read to negative 40 degrees. The maximum temperature on the right probe was negative 33 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The Beaufort number for the day was 1, and the wind was coming from 55 degrees east of north. The skies were clear again, but there was ice fog in the surrounding areas. On the 28th, I took my observation at 1320. The current observed temperature was negative 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and the NWS data read it was negative 27 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature for the left probe was negative 33.7 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The maximum temperature for the right probe was negative 33.16 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The Beaufort number was 0 that day. There was no wind, and the smoke from the chimneys rose straight into the air. The skies were clear, and there was no precipitation. On the 29th, I took my reading at 1300. The current observed temperature was negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit, and the NWS data read it was negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature for the left probe was negative 31.36 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The maximum temperature for the right probe was negative 30.64 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The Beaufort number was 0. There was no wind at the time of observation, and again, the smoke from the chimney rose straight into the air. The sky was also clear, and there was no precipitation. For the last day, the 30th, I took my reading at 1400. The current observed temperature was negative 26 degrees Fahrenheit, and the NWS data also read it was negative 26 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature for the left probe was negative 26.86 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was LL.L. The maximum temperature for the right probe was also negative 26.86 degrees Fahrenheit, and had the same minimum temperature as LL.L. The Beaufort number was 1 that day, and the wind was coming from 240 degrees west of south. There were some cirrus clouds which looked wispy and feathery in the sky, but there was still no precipitation. Looking at the barometric pressure, you can see that it followed the same increasing trend throughout the week, except toward the end of the week you can see that the NWS barometric pressure increased much more than the barometric pressure I collected on the 30th. So on the 26th, my data read that the barometric pressure was 1019.86 millibars, whereas the NWS data had a value of 1023 millibars. On the 27th, my data read 1022.57 millibars, and the NWS data had a value of 1024 millibars. On the 28th, my data said 1029.34 millibars, and the NWS data had a value of 1028 millibars. And on the 29th, my data read 1036.12 millibars, and the NWS data had a value of 1034 millibars. And finally, for the 30th, my data read 1039.52 millibars, whereas the NWS data had a value of 1043 millibars. So now looking at the TV weather maps, we'll start from the first day, which was the 26th. So looking at the map, you can see that there was a high pressure reading in the interior that brought on fair skies. You can see the high pressure by the H. And because of the cooler temperatures, there was fog in the area, which is represented by these little equal signs. You can also see that the interior area of Alaska is unshaded, which means that we had cloud-free skies. And there was also a stationary front moving along the southern part of the state, which can be seen right along here. Moving on to the 27th, you can see again that Fairbanks experienced some fog right here, and the interior area again remains unshaded, meaning that we had clear skies and there was a high pressure system in the area, causing the cooler temperatures to continue. We had a trough boundary of low pressure moving north, and the stationary front had moved east, right along here. Looking at the 28th, we see that the area around Fairbanks continues to remain clear, with a high pressure system remaining in the interior. There is a occluded front south of the state with a trough yet again moving north. So this is a occluded front right along the southern region of the state. And on the 29th, we see that the skies again remain clear and that the high pressure remains in the interior. It seems as though there was some fog in the area as well. Looking south of Fairbanks, you can see that a stationary front is sitting in the south central area of the state, right along here, which may have brought on some snow. And looking to the left of the map, you can see that a cold front is moving toward us once again. You can also see some cloud coverage and snow moving with the cold front. So this blue area right here represents the cold front. And on the 30th, the high pressure remains in the interior with little cloud coverage. You can see that there are clouds starting to move into the Fairbanks area by the white areas right here. And those were probably the cirrus clouds that I saw that afternoon. You can also see that there is a warm front heading toward Alaska on the left side of the map, so right along here. And you can also see that the warm front is bringing some cloud coverage as well. So now looking at the weather map and the GOES map for January 26th, the visible image right here appears darker because there was very little sunlight. It's difficult to tell from the image, but the interior has very little cloud coverage due to the darker color. In the infrared image right here, because of the high pressure system in the interior, you can see that the interior of Alaska appears brighter, meaning that there were higher cloud tops in the interior. Toward the Gulf of Alaska, below South Central, you can see a dark area. This could indicate warmer temperatures, which can be seen in all three images. By looking at the water vapor image, you can see that there were high amounts of water vapor in South Central and more so the interior of Alaska, which can be represented by this wider cloud coverage, and lower amounts of water vapor, which is indicated by the dark color off the Gulf of Alaska towards southeast Alaska, so right along here. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for watching.